Have you ever noticed how some people speak and the entire room shifts? The energy changes. The noise fades. People turn their heads, lean in, and listen. Not because the person is famous, but because something about the way they speak feels magnetic. That's the power of communication. Not ordinary communication, but smart communication. Speaking smart isn't about using difficult words or sounding academic. It's about understanding the human mind, how people think, react, and feel. Because behind every conversation, behind every opinion or argument, there's psychology. The psychology of connection. Think about it. Words build nations, start revolutions, and heal broken souls. One sentence can inspire millions, or destroy trust in seconds. The world listens not to the loudest voice, but to the one that feels right. You see, the smartest communicators don't just talk. They transfer emotion. They make you feel something before they make you understand something. They know that the heart listens first, and the mind follows. We live in a world filled with voices. Billions of them. But only a few know how to use theirs with purpose. Some speak to impress. Some speak to argue. But a rare few speak to influence. And the difference? Psychology. When you understand how people process information, how tone affects trust, how silence carries more weight than shouting, you begin to unlock the true art of communication. Because it's never been about what you say. It's always about how you make others feel when you say it. Imagine walking into a meeting, an interview, or even a relationship, knowing how to use your voice like a tool. Not to manipulate, but to connect. That's when you realize speaking smart isn't just a skill, it's a form of leadership. So, as you listen to this audiobook, remember, your voice is not just sound. It's energy. It's your mirror to the world. The words you choose, the tone you use, and the intention you carry. All of it shapes how the world responds to you. And today, you're going to learn how to make that response powerful, purposeful, and unforgettable. Welcome to Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks, where we don't just teach you how to speak, we teach you how to influence minds and move hearts. To speak smart, you must first learn the psychology of listening. Every great communicator is a great listener first. Listening gives you information that others miss. The emotions between the words, the hesitation behind the smile, the truth beneath the tone. Most people listen to reply. Smart communicators listen to understand. When you truly listen, you build emotional bridges. And those bridges make your words 10 times more powerful. People don't open up to those who speak the loudest. They open up to those who make them feel heard. Next comes clarity. Clarity is the heartbeat of smart communication. The world is full of noise. Everyone shouting opinions, ideas, and arguments. But clarity cuts through chaos like a laser. When your message is simple, people remember it. When it's clear, people trust it. Speak like you mean every word, with precision, not perfection. Because perfection sounds fake, authenticity sounds real. Then comes tone and timing, the rhythm of influence. Your tone carries emotional data. It tells others if you're confident, calm, nervous, or sincere. You can say the same sentence 2 ways and create 2 completely different meanings. That's why smart communicators never rush their words. They let silence do the heavy lifting. A pause is not weakness. A pause is power. In silence, your message breathes. In stillness, your presence speaks. Now let's talk about psychological mirroring. People trust what feels familiar. When you subtly reflect someone's energy, their tone, pace, or even posture. You signal to their brain, we are the same. This is not manipulation. It's empathy expressed through rhythm. You're telling their subconscious, you're safe here. And once people feel safe, they listen differently. The fifth principle of speaking smart is authentic confidence. Confidence doesn't mean being the loudest in the room. It means being the calmest. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth with words, your voice gains authority. True confidence is quiet because it doesn't need to compete. It comes from self-understanding, knowing that your value doesn't depend on validation. And finally, intention. Every conversation has a hidden goal. Before you speak, ask yourself, what do I want to create with these words? Do I want to inspire, heal, lead, or argue? Your intention shapes your impact. If your words come from ego, they create resistance. If they come from clarity and purpose, they create influence. Speaking smart is about aligning your heart, your mind, and your message. When those three align, your communication becomes magnetic. You won't need to chase attention. Attention will find you. So practice awareness, master empathy, polish your tone, build confidence, speak with purpose, because every word is an echo, and what you send out into the world will always return to you amplified. Most people think speaking is the most powerful form of communication, but the truth is, the greatest communicators in history weren't just masters of words. They were masters of silence. They didn't listen to reply. They listened to understand. They made people feel seen, heard, and valued, not just spoken to. And that is the foundation of true influence. You see, when someone speaks to us, our brain usually races ahead, planning what to say next, how to respond, how to defend, how to sound smart. We think we're listening, but we're actually rehearsing. And in that moment, connection dies, because real connection doesn't happen through words, it happens through presence. Listening, deep, undistracted, intentional listening, is what creates trust faster than any speech can. Imagine someone talking to you about their pain. They're not asking for your advice. They're not looking for your solution. They just want to be understood. And when you stop trying to fix them and start trying to feel them, something magical happens. The wall between you disappears. That's when communication becomes communion. It's no longer two minds talking. It's two souls meeting. Most people underestimate how powerful it is to make someone feel understood. In a world that's obsessed with speaking, very few know the art of listening. And yet, every human heart is craving one thing: to be heard without judgment, to be received without interruption, to be accepted without correction. That's the kind of listening that transforms relationships, rebuilds broken trust, and opens doors that arrogance could never unlock. When you listen to understand, you stop treating the conversation as a competition. You stop waiting for your turn. You stop trying to win. Instead, you start learning. You start observing the little things. The tremor in their voice, the hesitation in their tone, the emotion hiding between pauses. You start hearing what's not being said. That's emotional intelligence. Not a skill, but a sensitivity. And that's where real communication lives. Great communicators, the ones who move nations, heal divisions, and inspire hearts, all share one uncommon habit: they listen before they speak. They read the room before they raise their voice. They study the silence before they deliver the sentence. That's how they always seem to say the right thing, at the right time, in the right way. Not because they're gifted, but because they're attuned. Listening is not weakness. It's control. It's mastery. It's the ability to slow down your ego long enough to understand another person's world. Because when you understand people, you influence them naturally. You no longer have to force your point. They invite your perspective. That's the hidden psychology behind all-powerful communication. People don't follow those who speak loudly, they follow those who make them feel understood. Let's go deeper. Every time you listen without judgment, you teach the other person to trust again. You show them it's safe to be themselves. And in that safety, people reveal truth. Truth they hide from others. Truth they may not even know about themselves. That's the sacred space real communicators create. They don't use words to impress. They use silence to connect. Have you ever noticed how rare it feels when someone truly listens? No phones, no distractions, no rushing. Just eyes that see you, ears that hear you, and a heart that cares. That's when your guard drops. That's when your story flows. That's when you open up. Because at the core of every human being is this quiet hope: I want to be understood. When you listen deeply, you're not only giving someone your attention, you're giving them your energy. You're saying, you matter. And when someone feels they matter, they will move mountains for you. That's why listening is not just empathy, it's influence. It's not just kindness, it's leadership. The best leaders aren't those who talk the most. They're those who listen the longest. Listening reshapes your mind. It makes you wiser, calmer, more grounded. Because the moment you stop trying to be right, you start becoming real. Every person you meet knows something you don't. Every voice carries a lesson your life might need. But you'll never hear it if you keep talking over it. The smartest minds are those that stay curious. They ask, they explore, they stay open, because wisdom doesn't enter through your mouth. It enters through your ears. So, the next time you're in a conversation, pause before you speak. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't race to prove your point. Just listen, fully, quietly, intentionally. Listen like you're collecting pieces of truth. Listen like the person in front of you holds a secret you've been waiting to hear. Because maybe they do. The world doesn't need more loud voices. It needs more present hearts. It needs more people who don't just talk at others but talk with them. People who listen so deeply that others start to listen to themselves. That's how you create impact. Not through perfect sentences, but through genuine silence. Listening is not about hearing words. It's about feeling meaning. It's about sensing what's beneath the sound. The emotion, the need, the pain, the hope. And when you start listening like that, every conversation becomes a mirror. You begin to understand others. And in that process, you begin to understand yourself. Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Clarity is not just how you speak, it's how you think. The clearer your thoughts, the more powerful your words become. Most people believe communication is about choosing the right words. But it starts long before that. It starts with untangling the noise inside your own mind. Because you can't express what you don't understand. You can't inspire others when you confuse yourself. Clarity is confidence in motion. It's the quiet strength behind every great communicator. Think about it. When someone speaks clearly, you trust them almost instantly. Their message feels grounded, organized, easy to follow. It doesn't matter how simple their words are, their presence carries precision. That's what real intelligence sounds like. Not complexity, but clarity. The world is already full of noise, and the person who brings stillness through their words becomes unforgettable. People remember not who talked the most, but who made the most sense. Clarity is not born in the mouth, it's born in the mind. When you take time to slow down, to ask yourself, what am I really trying to say? Your message becomes powerful. Most people rush their words. They want to sound smart, sophisticated, impressive. But the moment you start performing, you stop connecting. Real communication is not a performance. It's a transmission of truth. And truth doesn't need decoration. It only needs direction. The most confident communicators aren't the ones who speak fast. They're the ones who speak sure. They pause when needed. They emphasize with purpose. They choose words that land softly yet deeply. Because they understand something others miss. Words are not just sounds, they're instruments. And every syllable, every pause, every tone shapes how people feel you. You can say the same sentence in two ways, and one will inspire trust. The other will lose it, not because of content, but clarity. There's a hidden psychology behind it. The human brain craves order. When it hears clarity, it feels safe. When it hears confusion, it feels tension. That's why people follow those who speak clearly. Their clarity signals leadership. It tells the listener, you can trust me. I know where we're going. That's why clarity is more powerful than charisma. Because charisma might attract attention, but clarity earns belief. Sometimes we hide behind complicated words because we're afraid of being simple. But simplicity is not weakness. It's mastery. It takes courage to strip your ideas down to their essence. It takes confidence to say less and mean more. The greatest speakers, from philosophers to presidents, understood this. They didn't try to sound complex. They tried to sound clear, because they knew when the message is pure, the impact is permanent. Have you ever listened to someone who made you feel like everything suddenly made sense? Their words cut through the fog in your head. That's clarity. It's not just what they said. It's how their words carried light. They spoke with purpose. They didn't fill space, they created meaning. And that's what makes people lean in, not out. When your message is clear, your voice becomes magnetic. People don't resist it. They receive it. To speak with clarity, you must first make peace with silence, because silence gives your thoughts time to align. When you rush, your message loses power. But when you breathe before you speak, when you give your words space to live, they grow stronger. Every pause becomes punctuation. Every sentence becomes a promise. That's the art of confident clarity. Not speed, but stillness. Ask yourself, how do you want people to feel when you speak? Confused or certain, distracted or focused. Every word you choose plants an emotion. Choose them with care. The wrong words can kill understanding. The right ones can open hearts. So, before you talk, ask yourself, is what I'm about to say clear? Does it serve meaning or just fill air? Because words spoken without clarity are noise, but words spoken with purpose, they echo long after the sound fades. You don't have to use big words to make a big impact. The smartest people are those who can explain the complex in simple terms. Einstein once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. That's the standard of real clarity. It's not about showing off intelligence. It's about transferring it. And when your message travels cleanly from your mind to someone else's heart, that's communication at its highest level. The more you practice clarity, the more confident you become. Because clarity kills doubt. When your message is clear in your head, fear disappears from your voice. You no longer stumble. You no longer second guess, because you know what you mean. That inner knowing creates outer authority. That's why clarity is not just a speaking skill. It's a psychological shift. It turns chaos into calm, insecurity into intention. And here's the secret: clarity doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from knowing what matters most. You don't have to say everything you know. You only have to say what truly needs to be said. Strip away the extra. Remove the fluff. Deliver the truth. That's how powerful communication sounds. Direct, honest, unforgettable. When you master clarity, you don't just communicate better. You lead better. You bring certainty into uncertain rooms. You bring focus into distracted minds. You become the person people look to when everything else feels complicated, because clarity is leadership without authority. It's confidence without arrogance. It's power delivered quietly, precisely, purposefully. So, remember this. The world doesn't listen to the loudest voice, it listens to the clearest one. People don't follow those who speak a lot, they follow those who speak truth with direction. Speak to be understood, not admired. Speak to create peace, not noise. Because when your words are clear, your message doesn't just reach ears, it reaches souls. Most people believe that powerful communication is about what you say. But the truth is, what gives words their power is not the words themselves. It's the tone, the rhythm, the pauses, and the silence in between. You can speak 1,000 sentences and still fail to connect. Or you can say one line, delivered with the right emotion, and move someone to tears. Words touch the mind, but tone touches the heart. And the heart decides who we trust, who we follow, and who we remember. Tone is the invisible thread that carries your meaning across. It's the music behind the message. A flat, emotionless voice can kill even the most brilliant idea, while a warm, alive tone can make the simplest sentence sound profound. When your tone matches your truth, people feel it instantly. They may forget your exact words, but they will never forget how your voice made them feel. That's the psychology of communication. Emotion first, logic later. Think of the greatest speakers and storytellers in history. They didn't rush their message. They didn't drown you in information. They played with pace, with silence, with emphasis. They understood that pauses speak louder than paragraphs. Silence is not emptiness, it's energy. It's the moment where the listener leans in, waiting for what comes next. That moment of stillness is where anticipation builds, where the mind opens, where your words gain weight. The masters of communication understand that timing is everything. When you speak, your tone is the mirror of your emotion. You can't fake it for long. People can sense authenticity in the sound of your voice. A calm tone tells the world you are in control. A kind tone tells them you are safe to approach. A passionate tone ignites energy in others. But a defensive or arrogant tone, even with good words, can make people shut down instantly. Your tone carries your intention, and people hear your intention before they hear your message. There's a reason silence feels uncomfortable for most people. Because silence exposes the truth. In silence, there's no performance, no distraction, no escape. That's why few people know how to use it. But those who do command attention effortlessly. They don't rush to fill every second with sound. They understand that silence is not the absence of communication. It's the amplifier of it. When you pause, you give meaning to what you just said, and power to what you're about to say. Speaking smart isn't about sounding perfect. It's about sounding present. When your tone is grounded, your audience feels grounded. When you rush, they feel pressure. When you breathe, they breathe with you. The energy you give through your voice is contagious. The tone of your words sets the tone of the room. If your voice carries chaos, your listeners will feel anxious. But if your voice carries calmness and control, your listeners will trust you instantly. Every word you speak vibrates with intention. When your intention is pure, your tone carries strength, compassion, and confidence, even in silence. Because silence, when used right, doesn't signal weakness, it signals depth. It says, "I don't need to fill this space to be heard." It's the pause before the punchline, the breath before the truth, the stillness before the storm. That's where communication becomes art. The psychology of tone is rooted in emotional intelligence. People don't decode what you say, they decode how you make them feel. A single word delivered with warmth can heal, while the same word, delivered with coldness, can hurt. The tone carries emotion like water carries current, invisible but unstoppable. That's why, when you master your tone, you master influence. If you want to know how to improve your tone, start by mastering your emotion. You cannot sound calm if you're not calm inside. You cannot sound confident if you're filled with doubt. Your voice reveals your state of mind. The body follows emotion, and the voice follows both. That's why true communicators don't just train their words. They train their state. Before they speak, they breathe. They align their mind. They set their intention. Because they know their tone will betray their truth if their truth isn't clear. Think about the last time someone spoke to you with genuine care. Maybe it was just a few words, but you felt peace. That was tone. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't forced. It was real. Now think about the last time someone spoke sharply, dismissively, even when their words were polite. You felt something was off. That's tone again. We live in a world of tone before text. Before the meaning of the word reaches the brain, the sound of the word reaches the heart. In conversation, tone and silence are partners. One moves, the other breathes. Together, they create rhythm. And rhythm is what makes communication unforgettable. You can feel when someone speaks rhythmically, when their words dance naturally instead of rushing. Their voice carries emotion like a melody. You don't just listen, you experience it. That's what powerful communication feels like, a moment of shared energy between hearts. When you master tone and silence, you no longer chase attention. You command it. You don't raise your voice to be heard. Your silence does the talking. You don't force people to listen. They want to. Because your presence, your energy, your tone make them feel safe and inspired at the same time. You become magnetic, not through volume, but through vibration. And that's the ultimate secret of powerful communication. It's not about how loud or clever you are, but how aligned you are. When your tone matches your message, when your pauses carry meaning, when your silence speaks truth, you don't just communicate. You move people. You turn sound into connection, and connection into change. People often think communication is about what you say, but in truth, the real power lies in how you make others feel. When you speak, your words enter someone's ears, but your energy enters their subconscious, and the human mind, without even realizing it, is constantly asking one silent question: do I feel safe with you? If the answer is yes, they open up. If the answer is no, they close off. That's why the secret to building trust and influence in any conversation isn't dominance. It's connection, and the fastest way to create that connection is through mirroring. Mirroring isn't imitation. It's not about copying someone's gestures or pretending to be like them. It's about tuning into their emotional frequency, aligning your energy with theirs, and letting their nervous system feel seen. You become a reflection of safety. The psychology behind it is fascinating. People trust those who reflect their state. It's why we feel comfortable around those who get us, who seem to understand us without explanation. Mirroring, when done with authenticity, is not manipulation. It's empathy turned into action. Think about when you meet someone for the first time. Within seconds, your brain starts scanning tone, eye contact, body language, micro-expressions. You don't consciously think about it, but your subconscious is deciding whether to let its guard down or not. When the other person subtly mirrors your posture, your rhythm, your tone, your brain recognizes something familiar. Familiarity breeds comfort. Comfort breeds trust, and trust opens the door to influence. The best communicators use mirroring like an artist uses color, subtly, purposefully, never to deceive but to connect. They speak at the same pace as the person in front of them. They match emotional energy, gentle when the other is soft, steady when the other is nervous. They use the same key phrases or expressions the other person naturally uses, so their brain hears, "You're like me." And when someone feels that, resistance disappears. The message starts to flow instead of fight. There's a deeper layer to this. Mirroring doesn't just build trust with others. It builds awareness within yourself. It teaches you presence. It forces you to observe, not just talk, to feel the emotional texture of a conversation instead of treating it as a transaction. When you listen with your whole body, your eyes, your breath, your posture, you start to notice things words could never tell you. The slight hesitation before an answer, the flicker of discomfort in someone's smile, the shift in breathing when they feel understood. Those are the moments when real communication happens. The magic of mirroring is that it transforms communication from a battle of egos into a dance of empathy. You stop trying to win the conversation and start trying to understand it. The moment you do, people feel it. They lower their armor. They stop performing and start revealing. You can't connect with someone's heart if you're always trying to prove your own, but when you reflect their energy with sincerity, they start to trust you enough to be real. When two people are emotionally aligned, the conversation flows like music. Words become lighter, understanding becomes faster, and everything feels natural. That's the state great leaders and speakers create. They don't force connection. They sync with it. They speak not to impress but to express. They know that connection is not found by talking louder. It's found by listening deeper. You can even see this in body language. If someone leans forward, subtly leaning forward too signals attention. If they speak softly, lowering your tone to match theirs creates intimacy. If they use their hands to explain, Mirroring that rhythm shows you're engaged. It's like speaking an emotional dialect their mind already understands. You're not copying, you're communicating at their frequency. But here's the key: mirroring must come from authenticity. If you fake it, it feels off. People can sense artificial energy faster than you think. True mirroring doesn't mean losing yourself to please others. It means harmonizing your presence without sacrificing your truth. It's a balance, staying genuine while creating resonance. When done right, it feels effortless. You don't do mirroring, you become. Present enough for it to happen naturally. It's the same reason why some people instantly make you feel calm, while others make you anxious. Their energy speaks before their words do. Their presence mirrors peace, empathy, understanding. And that, more than anything they say, shapes how you experience them. The human heart listens to energy long before it listens to logic. That's why great communicators are great feelers first. They mirror not just behavior, but emotion. Imagine sitting across from someone who truly listens, not waiting for their turn, not interrupting, not pretending, just deeply present with you. You start mirroring them too. You breathe slower, your voice softens, your mind quiets. That's what real connection does. It regulates both people. Two nervous systems finding harmony. That's the essence of powerful communication. Creating emotional safety through resonance. In leadership, this is everything. People don't follow titles, they follow trust. And trust is built not by commanding, but by connecting. A mirrored connection makes others feel, this person understands me. And when people feel understood, they listen differently. They believe differently. They act differently. You can't inspire someone you don't connect with, and you can't connect without empathy. Every word you speak carries energy. Every breath, every pause, every movement communicates who you are more loudly than your sentences do. The next time you speak, observe. Notice the pace of the other person's words. Notice their eyes. Notice their energy. Then adjust, not to manipulate, but to meet them where they are. That single adjustment can turn resistance into receptiveness, confusion into clarity, strangers into allies. And the beauty of it all is this: when you mirror someone authentically, they start to mirror you back. Your calm creates their calm. Your openness creates their openness. Communication becomes a reflection, not a performance. And that's when influence transforms into impact. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't rush to prove itself or demand attention. True confidence is quiet, grounded, and unmistakable. You can feel it the moment a person walks into a room. Not because they speak first, but because they don't need to. Their presence says everything their voice doesn't. It's calm, steady, and anchored in self-belief, the kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout, because it already knows its worth. People often confuse confidence with charisma, volume, or boldness. But real confidence is internal, not external. It's not how loudly you talk. It's how calmly you think. It's the silence before you speak, the stillness between your words, the composure that holds your energy steady no matter what's happening around you. That calmness, that's power. Because when everyone else is reacting, the confident one remains centered. And that calm is magnetic. People gravitate toward it instinctively. The psychology behind this is simple but profound. Human beings feel safe around certainty. When your voice is calm, your tone measured, your energy consistent, you signal to others that you are in control. not just of the moment, but of yourself. That's why true confidence feels different. It doesn't create tension, it dissolves it. It doesn't intimidate, it reassures. The confident person doesn't try to dominate the room. They stabilize it. You can hear it in their voice. A confident voice doesn't rush. It breathes. It allows silence. It lets every word land. You can sense that they aren't performing. They're simply being. Their certainty doesn't come from the need to impress. It comes from alignment. They know who they are, and they don't need validation to prove it. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. It's earned through self-awareness and discipline. The kind that comes from knowing your strengths, accepting your flaws, and standing firm in both. When you meet a truly confident person, you notice they rarely talk about themselves. They ask more, listen more, observe more. Their quietness isn't insecurity, it's mastery. Because they understand a truth that most people miss. When you're grounded in who you are, you don't need to fill the air with words. You already own the moment by being fully present in it. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is insecurity disguised as power. It shouts, interrupts, and needs to be seen. Confidence doesn't need to be seen. It is seen effortlessly. The difference is energy. Arrogance drains, confidence grounds. One is loud because it fears being invisible. The other is quiet because it knows it never will be. And when you communicate from that place of grounded confidence, every word carries weight. Every gesture holds authority. Every silence commands respect. There's a secret to developing that kind of inner calm. You stop chasing approval. The moment you stop needing to be liked, you become free to be real. And realness is what people crave. They can sense authenticity instantly. They can feel when your energy is pure, when your words match your truth. That alignment between what you say and who you are is the essence of confidence. It's integrity in motion. Think about this: when you speak from fear, your body tightens, your breath shortens, your tone wavers. But when you speak from certainty, your voice flows naturally. There's no strain, no tension, no pretense. That's because confidence isn't something you put on. It's something you release. It's not about adding more. It's about removing doubt, comparison, and self-judgment. What remains is authenticity, and authenticity is power. True confidence doesn't mean you never feel nervous. It means you trust yourself even when you are. It's the quiet voice in your head that says, "I can handle this." You don't need everything to go right, because you know you'll be fine, even if it doesn't. That's why calm confidence feels unshakable. It's rooted not in circumstances, but in character. In communication, confidence is the difference between being heard and being remembered. People remember calm voices. They remember presence. They remember those who made them feel safe, not those who shouted the loudest. When you speak with quiet certainty, your message cuts through noise like light through fog. People lean in, not because you demand attention, but because your composure earns it. Confidence also changes how you carry yourself. It's in your posture, your breathing, your eyes. It's the relaxed shoulders, the steady pace, the genuine smile. Every physical cue tells the world how you feel inside. If your body says calm, your words say truth. That's the language of presence. Subtle, powerful, undeniable. And here's the paradox: the quieter your confidence, the louder your impact. Because silence, when backed by strength, speaks volumes. You don't have to prove your power when you embody it. The calmness in your tone tells people, I'm not here to compete. I'm here to contribute. You lead not by control, but by clarity. Not by fear, but by trust. Every time you walk into a conversation, you bring an energy with you. Confidence isn't about being the most dominant energy in the room. It's about being the most stable one. The one who doesn't flinch when challenged, doesn't panic when misunderstood, doesn't crumble when criticized, because confidence doesn't live in the absence of doubt. It lives in the acceptance of it. You can acknowledge your flaws, yet still move forward with grace. That balance is rare and unforgettable. If you want to master confidence, stop focusing on performance. Focus on presence. Before every conversation, take a breath. Center yourself. Remind yourself, I don't need to impress anyone. I just need to be real. When you show up from that space, people don't just hear your words. They feel your steadiness. And in a world of noise, calmness is irresistible. The calm voice always wins. Not because it's the loudest, but because it's the one people trust. When your tone carries peace, others listen longer. When your words carry purpose, they linger deeper. And when your presence carries quiet confidence, you don't just communicate, you inspire. There is a subtle magic that separates ordinary speakers from extraordinary communicators. It's the art of emotional connection. You can have the perfect words, flawless grammar, even a powerful message, but if your audience doesn't feel something, they won't remember anything. Emotion is the electricity that powers communication. It's the invisible thread that binds one heart to another, one mind to another. When you speak with emotion, you don't just transfer information. You transfer energy. And that energy is what moves people. Every great communicator knows this truth. People don't respond to logic until they've first felt emotion. The human brain is wired to feel before it thinks. You can't persuade someone's mind without first touching their heart. Think about the last time someone truly inspired you. It wasn't because they gave you data. It was because they gave you feeling. Their words carried warmth, urgency, truth. They spoke from a place of authenticity, and you could feel it in your chest. That's what emotional communication is. Not manipulation, but connection. Imagine two speakers. The first speaks perfectly, but with no feeling. The second stumbles slightly, but speaks from the soul. The first one impresses your intellect. The second one reaches your soul. And that difference, that rawness, is where persuasion lives. When you speak from your own emotional truth, your voice carries resonance. People recognize themselves in your story, in your tone, in your vulnerability. And that's when communication stops being a transaction and becomes a transformation. To master emotional communication, you must first learn emotional awareness. You cannot express what you do not feel. The best communicators don't suppress emotion, they understand it. They turn vulnerability into strength, empathy into influence, passion into power. They speak not just to be understood, but to make others feel understood, because in that moment of recognition, when someone feels, you get me, trust is born. And trust is the foundation of all influence. But emotional connection isn't about being dramatic. It's about being real. It's not loudness that creates emotion. It's honesty. When your tone reflects your truth, when your pauses carry sincerity, when your eyes communicate what words can't, people lean in. You don't need to perform emotion. You need to embody it. A single genuine sentence, spoken from the heart, is more powerful than 1,000 perfectly rehearsed lines. There's a reason why great leaders, teachers, and storytellers all share one trait. They make people feel seen. They speak with emotion, not at emotion. They allow their audience to travel with them through the highs and lows, through the struggles and triumphs. They don't just describe experiences, they relive them as they speak. You can hear the conviction in their tone, the memory in their silence, the vulnerability in their breath. That's how emotion enters a room, not through volume, but through truth. Emotional communication requires courage, because to express emotion is to expose yourself. It means lowering the mask of perfection and allowing humanity to show. And that's scary for many. But here's the paradox. The moment you reveal your humanity, people trust you more. They see their own fears, hopes, and flaws reflected in yours. You become relatable, real, and unforgettable. People follow those who make them feel human again. Let's take a deeper look at how emotion changes the rhythm of speech. When you're connected emotionally, your pacing changes naturally. You pause where your heart tells you to pause. You emphasize words not because they're big, but because they matter. Emotion gives your words texture. Some moments feel soft and tender, others sharp and powerful. This variation creates depth, contrast, and tension. It keeps listeners on the edge, not because they're waiting for more information, but because they're waiting for feeling. Emotion is also contagious. Neuroscientists call it emotional contagion. The phenomenon where people unconsciously mirror the emotions they perceive. If you speak with passion, your audience feels energized. If you speak with calm confidence, they feel grounded. If you speak with empathy, they open up. Your emotional state becomes the emotional environment. That's why emotional control is as important as emotional expression. You must guide emotion, not be consumed by it. The most powerful communicators use emotion intentionally. They know when to let warmth soften their words, when to let conviction harden their tone, when to let silence do the talking. They speak from the chest, not the throat, because emotion doesn't just come from words. It comes from breath, rhythm, and presence. You can feel it when someone is fully alive in what they're saying. Their energy vibrates through every syllable. It doesn't just touch the ears. It touches the soul. And yet, emotion without direction can become chaos. The key is balance, the ability to feel deeply, but express clearly. Emotion should illuminate your message, not drown it. That's where self-awareness meets control. You learn to channel your passion, not explode it. To use your vulnerability as a bridge, not a wound. That balance turns emotional expression into emotional intelligence. The rare skill of knowing what others feel, even when they don't say it. When you master emotional communication, something remarkable happens. Your words stop being words. They become experiences. They make people reflect, imagine, hope, and believe. You stop speaking to the mind and start speaking through it, directly to the heart. That's why some messages stay with you long after they're spoken. Because emotion imprints memory. It carves meaning into the mind. Every time you speak, ask yourself, what do I want them to feel? That question changes everything. Because when you communicate with emotional clarity, you begin to influence not just how people think, but who they become after they hear you. So speak with emotion, but don't perform it. Feel it. Let it flow through you, naturally, truthfully. Let your vulnerability be your credibility. Because in a world full of noise and perfection, it's still emotion that moves the soul, awakens empathy, and makes your message unforgettable. Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks. When your words carry emotion, they don't just echo in minds, they live in hearts. If you want to truly speak smart, remember this: communication isn't just a skill. It's your superpower. It shapes how people see you, trust you, and follow you. Don't speak to be heard. Speak to be felt. Don't speak to show off knowledge. Speak to share understanding. Don't speak to control others. Speak to connect with them. Your words carry energy. They can lift someone from despair, rebuild broken confidence, or awaken forgotten dreams. That's the real purpose of communication. Not to impress, but to impact. So the next time you open your mouth, let your words come from clarity, not chaos, from peace, not pride. Speak with your heart, and you'll never run out of the right words. Because when you speak smart, you don't just talk, you transform. This is Wisdom in Minutes Audiobooks, reminding you your voice is your power. Your words are your legacy, and your communication is the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to become.